Our reading this morning comes from Isaiah 58, starting at verse 1 through to verse 12. But before we do that, let's just pray. Father, I pray that as we read your word, that you would soften our hearts and open our minds, that we might be sensitive to your Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen. Shout it aloud. Do not hold back. Raise your voice like a trumpet. Declare to my people their rebellion and to the descendants of Jacob their sins. For day after day they seek me out. They seem eager to know my ways, as if they were a nation that does what is right and has not forsaken the commands of its God. They ask me for just decisions and seem eager for God to come near them. Why have we fasted, they say, and you have not seen it? Why have we humbled ourselves and you have not noticed? Yet, on the day of your fasting, you do as you please and exploit all your workers. Your fasting ends in quarreling and strife and in striking each other with wicked fists. You cannot fast as you do today and expect your voice to be heard on high. Is this the kind of fast I have chosen? Only a day for people to humble themselves? Is it only for bowing one's head like a reed and for lying in sackcloth and ashes? Is this what you call a fast, a day acceptable to the Lord? Is not this the kind of fast I have chosen? To loose the chains of injustice and to untie the cords of the yoke, to set the oppressed free and break every yoke? Is it not to share your food with the hungry and to provide the poor wanderer with shelter? When you see the naked, to clothe them and not to turn away from your own flesh and blood? Then your light will break forth like the dawn, and your healing will quickly appear. Then your righteousness will go before you, and the glory of the Lord will be your rear guard. Then you will call, and the Lord will answer. You will cry for help, and he will say, "Here I am." If you do away with the yoke of oppression, with the pointing finger and malicious talk, and if you spend yourselves on behalf of the hungry and satisfy the needs of the oppressed, then your light will rise in the darkness, and your night will become like the noonday. The Lord will guide you always. He will satisfy your needs in a sun-scorched land and will strengthen your frame. You will be like a well-watered garden, like a spring whose waters never fail. Your people will rebuild the ancient ruins and will raise up the age-old foundations. You will be called repairer of broken walls, restorer of streets with dwellings. Amen. Thanks be to God for his word.
Okay, is this working? Yep, good. Thank you, Jack, for doing the reading. And thank you, everyone, for your welcome to this church again. And I appreciate the worship. I've also sometimes joined or listened online occasionally to this church, so I've also appreciated the worship then. So thank you all. So thank you for this opportunity to come and share about Nepal and my work there and some information about churches there. So I should explain that Nepal is a country between China and India. So they are two huge, powerful, influential countries. And Nepal is like this tiny little country squeezed in between. So politically, it's a bit of a buffer zone. So here we go, just some photos. The predominant religion is actually Hinduism, about 80%, and about 10% Buddhist. But the church is rapidly growing. And this is some food that we have. I didn't say what my job is. I work in communications, so I'm helping to share stories in English about the work of my organization, so that those who support the United Mission to Nepal know what we're doing. And so that might be for news articles or magazines, but also different publications. Some of them are outside. Also videos, and my colleagues made the video, but sometimes I'm checking the script. Appeals, if we are fundraising for something, then I'm involved in like researching the details and writing what we're going to share. And sometimes events, and also website. Now I feel I need to apologize for our website. We keep waiting for it to be mobile phone friendly, and it's taking forever, and I'm quite embarrassed that it's still where it's at. It's partly because we have this multi-talented guy who also does videos and also does design, and so he's great at all of these things, but there's only one of him, and so that's not the best strategy for quickly changing the website. Anyway, by the end of this year, we should have a new website. So I'm part of a team of 5. The other people are in Nepali, and I'm the foreigner. So we have social media if you want to follow us on Instagram or Facebook and things. So about United Mission to Nepal, we call it UMN. It's a Christian organization. It was founded nearly 70 years ago, and it's a partnership of different churches around the world, from Scandinavia, UK, USA, Australia, including the Church of Scotland. And one of the things, the mission of the organization is very Christian. It's inspired by the love and teachings of Jesus Christ, that we will serve the people of Nepal, particularly those who live in poverty. And we're seeking fullness of life for all in a transformed Nepali society. That's based on John 10:10. So the goal of what we're doing is motivated by Jesus and his love for us, as we've been singing about. And we don't do preaching and evangelism, but we are seeking to bring justice and hope and healing and many other things. So there's a model of poverty. It's maybe hard to read from there, but we see poverty as not just lack of money, and this applies in the UK just as much as anywhere else, but something that's limiting the ability of human beings to live as God intended. So it might be to do with equality. It might be to do with a degraded environment where you can't grow your crops anymore. It might be to do with shame and disrespect if the society rejects you for some reason, whether religion or ethnic caste, or because you're a woman, because your husband died, so many reasons. So we have a model of poverty. This is what we're trying to leave. And UMN is all about transforming that into fullness of life that involves well-being and security, which might be financial, but also hope and freedom, peace and reconciliation between people, dignity and respect, and so on. And so this is based on when Jesus died on the cross. He didn't just die for our relationship with God. He also died for our relationship with each other, whether in our family, in our community, in our workspace. And he also died to heal and restore the relationships in creation, restore the goodness that was there at the beginning. And so this is the fullness of what UMN is trying to achieve through our work. And so we work in many different areas in community development. And today I will be sharing about how we share this vision with churches in Nepal. So most of the time we're working with people who are not at all Christian, but we are serving them because of the love of God. But we also work with churches to inspire them to serve their community and to see the need and to bring fullness of life, not only for people to know Jesus, but also to bring healing in relationships and to heal the land. So these are briefly the areas of work of UMN: health, education, livelihoods, peace and protection. That can include working against child marriage and against trafficking. Integral development is what I'll share with you just now, and good governance, helping local governments to know how to provide their citizens with the rights and services that they should have. We also especially work with people with disabilities, women and children, those who are excluded, which includes sometimes people from the Dalit caste, and also we work in environment and disaster risk reduction. It's not written there. And also conflict sensitivity, so trying to avoid creating more division through our work. This is a map of Nepal, and our working areas are like shaded in dark colors. So the video that you saw came from the southern part bordering onto India in the south. And a month ago, I was in a neighboring district. So the video was from somewhere called Kapilvastu. A month ago, I was in somewhere called Nawalparasi, which was very hot because this southern area is hot in summer and cold and damp in winter, so not very pleasant, but lovely people. And so a month ago, I was there and I was visiting our work to take stories, but I also learnt about something that we do, so I'll share that with you. So first, I'm going to share about this UMN work. And then secondly, I'm just going to share a little bit about a pastor and his wife who I know in Kathmandu. So here, you can see that we like bright colors in Nepal. This was the training. There was about 28 people on this training, so 14 from churches in Kapilvastu and 14 from churches in Nawalparasi. Oh, yeah, I think that's right. So these people are on this training for 2 years, and they are learning different things about how can we serve our community, how can we be a Christian, really. They are church leaders in their churches. So I'll share one or two stories from them. The lady in purple, she was a very friendly person, but when she was trying to say to me what happened in her church, she said previously they had conflict in their church between different people and distrust and so on, which shouldn't happen in churches, but it does. We're human beings, we have relationships, we fall out. But she said after doing this training, one of the outcomes was, and she demonstrated they're all hugging each other now almost. Hugging is not such a big thing in Nepal, but she was really clear in demonstrating that those relationships have really been healed thanks to the training that we've done. The second one is a church. The churches aren't always so colourful, but in that part of Nepal, I think they're really into painting their buildings. This lady, Shanti, the first lady, I'm sorry, I can't remember her name, the second lady, Shanti, outside the church, that church, they've done some things like litter cleaning in the area, but some bigger things was after doing the training, they were more looking out for needs in their community, and they discovered a girl, 6-year-old, who was being abused by somebody. In a way, she was also neglected by her mother. Her father had either died or gone away. And she was really at risk, this girl. And so they managed to rescue her and send her far away to Kathmandu to be in a hostel and get education and be protected, and also help to get the man to justice. The man is now in prison. So that was partly as a result of doing our training, that they were motivated to take action for people that they saw in their area, needs that they saw. Some more people. The first picture on the left, the guy who was sharing, I regret not getting a close-up of him. He was so smiley and enthusiastic. He was actually about 17 years old, but super, he was talking so much about all the things that they were doing through this training. And so one of them, following the passage in Isaiah 58, they do things like people in winter, when they didn't have some of the really poorest people, they were giving them warm clothes. And secondly, a lot of churches that have been involved in this training have given food, especially during the lockdowns in COVID, when so many people in Nepal are daily wage workers. So it's very much like the Bible story when people were standing on the street waiting to get work. That happens when I cross to go to my work. On either side of the bridge, there's men standing there waiting to get work that day. And many people have that kind of work, and in lockdown, they didn't have that work, and they suddenly had no money and no food. So churches have also been giving out food. They recognize that children didn't have money for hospital, for school books and pens. We never think about buying a pen as being an expense here, but that's a big deal, for some families to have money to buy the books and the pens. and especially uniform, helping with hospital fees. And on the right-hand photo, one of the ladies in that group, the community forest, she told me their church, after being involved in this training, they saw that one of the needs in their community was that everyone was going into the forest, cutting down the trees, and the trees were going to run out, and they weren't going to have enough wood, and they need the wood for firewood to cook. It takes about 2 hours to cook your meal on firewood. So the scheme had been managed, but it had fallen away, and so the church helped to get the community together again to monitor this forest and protect it, so that somebody is always guarding it to make sure that people are only taking dead wood and not cutting down new trees. So that was a pretty cool way that they are serving their community after doing this training. So I always feel like this looks quite small from a distance, apologies. This is to show you, so UMN, we work in 6 districts in Nepal, and we also have 2 hospitals, but we're not doing this training there. So in these districts, you can see the total number of churches, which is not very much, partly because some of those districts are quite small, and partly because the church is a new thing in Nepal. However, through our training, we have worked with, in most cases, over half of those churches, to inspire people to serve their communities. These are some of the elements we look at in the training. So people come first, so it's over a 2-year period, and every 6 months people come and do this training. So the first one is thinking about mission, but not just evangelism, but what is God's mission? Like I was explaining, the relationships with each other and the relationships with community and the creation as well. Sangsangai is the name of this training. That means togetherness in Nepali. So the first training, they do that. For 2 or 3 days, they come, do the training, go back to their church, and then they start a Bible study when they have a group of people, and they keep studying Bible passages related to this training and discussing, okay, what does that mean for us? What can we do in our church, and what can we do in the community? And I was kind of surprised when I was asking people and taking notes, like, what difference did this training make to you? And a lot of them said, oh, we started Bible study, and I was not even writing that down, because I'm like, that's what you should do as a church, like, that's not a big deal. But then realized that actually lots of churches in Nepal, they don't have Bible study. They have something called Sankati, and it's like mini church. So you meet during the week, and you sing some songs, and you have some prayers, and one person shares up front. But it's not really a Bible study where people are opening their Bibles and thinking about it and discussing it. So actually, having a Bible study is a new thing for a lot of churches, and that's changing how they live as Christians and changing how they live in their community. The second session is about healthy family, and that was interesting. A lot of people said they're now doing like family fellowship in their home, and that their relationships with their children or husband or wife is better after doing this training. Now, these are people who are actually on leadership themselves in the church, but they were doing it themselves, and it was making a difference for them, and it was also then they were sharing it with other people in their church, and it was helping to bring healing in families and better relationships in families. The third one is about the church and the role of the church, for example, to share the money that they collect, using some of that to share with the community and serve the community. And the fourth one that I visited a month ago, they were talking about community. So they were doing things like thinking about what are the resources in our community, what are the good things. It might be a park, it might be a school, and then thinking who are the needy people in our community, where are they, how can we serve them? And they were also thinking about the seasons, because farming is a big thing in Nepal, and like suggesting that, okay, when it's farming season and everyone's busy planting or harvesting, that's not a good time to organize a church activity. Try and plan your year and invite people at a time when it's less busy. Now, that might seem obvious to us, but these were all kind of new things for people to think about. So it's a very practical training, but it was such a joy to join these people and see how enthusiastic they were about changing in their hearts and changing in how they live their lives. So that's one training that United Mission to Nepal does. We've done it with about 76 leaders across Nepal so far. And I was really encouraged to see that actually we do also work with the local church. So here's some other examples. I've not visited these places, but this is Rukum. It's quite a remote district. These are a couple of paths. So one of them's wider. You can see a donkey or a horse on it. We do still use donkeys, horses, and mules to carry products to remote places. So 2 different churches were involved. The one on the left, one church was involved repairing or improving that path. And on the right is just a footpath. You can probably hardly see that there's a path under there where the people are like digging away. But there's lots of kind of pretty risky paths in Nepal and a lot of injuries as a result. But the church, after doing this training, was prompted to improve the path and make it safer and better. And other things churches have done is maybe to rebuild a bridge that was broken so children could get to school safely. This story, I've put some stories outside and you can like use the QR code and get the whole story. But this pastor, he's not a pastor actually. The person on the training wasn't a pastor. But after doing the training, they were prompted to improve the water from 4 broken wells, water taps. Otherwise, people, either it would be polluted or they'd have to walk a long distance. But secondly, they didn't have mobile phone reception in this village, which is hard to believe in this day and age. But the pastor or the person on the training was inspired to get that, and so worked with the local government and the communications office miles away, and now they're going to get mobile phone reception thanks to somebody doing this training with us. Finally, this is just for fun. I wonder if you can see in that photo, can you see anything on the hillside? There's a bit of snow. So this is demonstrating, like, even in winter, even if there's snow, we still go outside for our meetings. So this is, whereas we do meetings indoors always here and we have the heating on, because the sun shines, then actually a lot of meetings are outside, and this will be one of their group community studies when they're thinking, how does this apply to my church? So that's a little bit about the Sangsangai training. I'm really happy to, there's some resources outside you can look at. I'm happy to share more about that. Just before I go on to talk about my friend, a pastor's wife and pastor, just before I forget, in case I forget, there's a couple of products available. This is a bag. So my team is involved in an event called a General Assembly, a bit like the Church of Scotland. I think we probably copied the Church of Scotland 70 years ago when we were founded. So we had recently this, so the video also had this Sustaining Grace logo. That was the theme. And we made some really lovely bags. Now I've only brought 5. And they're at the crazy bargain price minimum donation of £3. But I think that's actually a pretty good bargain. So, but if you would like a bag, first come, first served, and you can make a donation to UMN, United Mission to Nepal. It's even got like a little extra pouch in the inside and everything. So, and secondly, if I can find it hiding in here, but maybe I can't. There's another smaller bag, yes, that I've got a Nepali family, which is such a gift that God has given me, this family that anytime I want to go there, I can go there, I can stay there, I can hang out with them. And they've got 5, now 6 girls that they're kind of fostering so that they can have proper education, because if they're in the village, they'd be busy looking after the animals and not getting very much education. All of them have lost their father. So during lockdown, they did have school, but they were stuck at home. So they made these cool little bags, which is a traditional Nepali bag. And if you pull one of the strings, then it closes. Zip. And then if you pull the other ones, it opens. Very exciting. So they made these in lockdown, but they've been like waiting for a market. So they're for sale outside for £1 each. And the profits will go to those girls being able to continue in school. Okay, that's your little interlude. I'll continue and share about my friends Mohan and Nista. Now, just before I came, I hung out with Nista most of the afternoon on the Sunday when I probably should have been packing. We have church on Saturdays, just so you know. So she and her husband are really lovely people, really humble people, and they are serving. They've started a church amongst people who are not so much from Kathmandu Valley, but from villages outside Kathmandu, but have come to the city to work. Again, apologies that the writing does look quite small. Mohan, the husband, is a Bible teacher. He's taught in Bible college for about 10 years. I knew that he did Hebrew and Greek, but I asked her what things does he teach, and she gave me a whole list of other things that he's been teaching in several Bible colleges. Recently, unfortunately, they were told that the college he's been teaching at, that was per hour paying a good rate, but obviously he's not full-time, the funding has been cut by the foreign donor. And so what does he do? Does he keep teaching there without any income? Does he go to another college where they don't pay so well? Anyway, that's what he does as a job, but he's also a pastor, and he also works with young people in football and things. So in order to engage them. Nishta, she's always telling me, she's a prayer friend in a way. She's always telling me about people and their needs, and this person came and this is going on in their family, whether it's illness or whether their son, for example, if you don't have citizenship, you can't sit your exams in school. But family situations are complicated, and quite often it's like people have a second wife and things like this, and often it's hard to get the certificate from the father for the son. So one situation of a boy she knew recently, he didn't have his certificate. He was just ready to sit his exams, age 13, because we have loads of exams in Nepal, but he wasn't allowed to sit them because he didn't have his certificate. So he's got to wait a whole year. Thankfully, they managed to get the certificate. He has to wait a whole year to sit his exams and move to the next grade, which is really sad. And then later, so his mum has got hardly any money in the jobs that she does. Later, he was messing around as you do when you're 13, and he broke his hand and needed an operation. Where are they going to get the money? They just don't have the money. So there's so many needs like that in Nepal that Nishta meets these people and shares it. But she's really a person of prayer. Actually, my dad nearly died a year ago, but it was a really sudden thing, and I could tell you more later. But the day before that happened, Nishta messaged me and said, "Hi, how are you?" And you know that way, you're like, "Oh, I'll answer that later," so I didn't. Then when this happened to my dad, I messaged her, because she's a prayer person, and I said, "What happened?" She was like, "I had a dream about your dad." God had prompted her to pray for my dad before it even happened. So you can ask me more later if you want to know, but that shows you what kind of a woman of prayer she is. Really amazing. So their church, they have about 100 members in total. The church has been there about 10 years. It started through a children's club, but during those 10 years, they've baptized about 55 people. And this year so far, they've baptized 5, and they've got another 10 coming up. So the church is really growing in Nepal. This is a small church, but these are the kind of people they're meeting. As I said, many of the members are daily wage workers, so they're really kind of living on the edge, really. So Nishta and Mohan are in the photo with the graduation cap. The girl in the middle, she's from the Chowdhury caste, which is in the flat area, the Terai. She speaks a different language, so she was really good at being able to, she was just staying with them, and they were helping her out. She's graduated from Bible college in that photo this year. She was great at reaching out to the people of that ethnic group in their area, because they speak a different language and they feel more comfortable with their own people. We have about 120 ethnic groups in Nepal, and about 120 languages. It's really diverse. The other photo you can see, Nisha is just doing Bible study or discipleship with some people in the church. This is her with a lady called Sapana, really sad, one of the many, many sad stories she shares. This lady, Sapana, her name means dream, but her life is completely not a dream, and right now she's probably got some kind of awful stomach cancer, but of course couldn't afford to go to hospital and even get checked out, never mind the treatment. I think she probably does not have long at all to live. But Nishta first met her through her daughters coming to a children's club that they ran for about 10 years. And then it was years and years later that when they were in need, the daughters came and found Nishta and said, we don't know, we can't treat our mum, please come and pray with her. So that is an encouragement for the value of, you never know in the future down the line, whoever children that you're working with or whoever you're working with, you're just serving and blessing, but you never know what fruit's going to come of that. This lady, actually, to show you the social challenges, she's now very sick and probably dying. She's with renting a house from one of the ethnic communities, and that community doesn't want somebody living in their house to die. So they've basically kicked her out back to the village because they don't want her to die. Yeah, it is incredibly shocking. So that's just one demonstration, and I've managed to not name which ethnic group that is, but that did that to her. But there's so many cultural taboos or restrictions and shame, unfortunately. There's many, many wonderful things in terms of hospitality and so on in Nepal, but when you're asking me about differences, one of the huge differences is these kind of shame things where you can be excluded. And so as if it wasn't bad enough to be dying, to be kicked out your house and off to the village. So I just wanted to introduce you to that family. I think that was my last slide, yes. But they, if you were interested, you could certainly get their news, but they also would be blessed by some more income, given that his job has lost its income in his teaching. But I feel like they're just a wonderful couple who are, actually they don't really ask me for money for themselves, but they were always sharing needs of other people, and sometimes I've supported other people. But I feel like they are just doing such a wonderful job of serving the poorest people in their area, just being available to them. Nishta said to me how they just have to be available all the time, because if people are working, they come at funny times of day and just turn up. Anyway, just to put it out there, if anyone was interested to give to them or to United Mission to Nepal, we can share details later. But yeah, thank you again for the opportunity to share. Okay.
Battle, we won't fear the night. We will walk the valley with you by our side. You will go before us, you will lead the way. We have found a refuge only you can save. Sing with joy now, our God is for us. The Father's love is a strong and mighty fortress. Raise your voice now, no love is greater. Who can stand against us if our God is for us? Even when I stumble, even when I fall, even when I turn back, still your love is sure. You will not abandon, you will not forsake. You will cheer me on with never-ending grace. Sing with joy now, our God is for us. The Father's love is a strong and mighty fortress. Raise your voice now, no love is greater. Who can stand against us if our God is for us? Separate us, hell and death will not defeat us. He who gave his Son to free us holds me in his love. Neither height nor depth can separate us. Hell and death will not defeat us. He who gave his Son to free us holds me in his love. Sing with joy now, our God is for us. The Father's love is a strong and mighty fortress. Raise your voice now, no love is greater. Who can stand against us